Today I'll be conducting my third and final reflection of the semester. And I would like to start off by looking back, the looking back part, right? So basically, whenever I look back on the way that I approached my language and project 2, I approached it in a sense that I'm talking to the person that I'm writing the letter to, which in this case, alright, it's Terry Crocker. So Terry Crocker is one of the board members for Tropical Texas Behavioral Health. That is a tropical, not tropical, a behavioral health clinic that's here in the valley. So they have locations here in Edinburgh, I believe in Harlingen and Brownsville. Anyways, I basically addressed it to him. Now, I will say that this type of writing style is fairly new to me because I haven't written a letter like this. Not ever, right? But I haven't written a professional or formal letter like this to a person, which kind of was a little bit hard because I had to stay on topic of just talking one on one to Mr. Crocker, not as an audience of multiple people, like let's just say like the student audience of UTRGV or the audience of basically like people in a large, I would say, like conference or seminar. So this one was kind of hard in a sense because I had to always backtrack a little bit whenever I was writing it in a sense of that I'm talking to him, making statements that I'm talking to him, not to a larger population. That way, Mr. Crocker felt that, okay, this letter is sincere and ran only towards me and not to the general population, which that will make him want to call to action, like if it's his job, not, oh, well, maybe it's somebody else's job too, right? And I also want to touch bases on the feedback that you gave me, Mrs. B, about the ad. Basically, it's designed well, but it really doesn't get the main message across. Like, if a person sees this ad, basically they won't know what it's linked to. Right? So what I had went in is I kind of didn't do much with it, but I still left homelessness and mental health, right? And right here you can see a picture of a man that says seeking human kindness. So seeking human kindness, seeking human help is kind of the same thing, I guess. Anyways, I had put on here homelessness, like basically homeless people need our help in seeking help to combat both of the problems, because homelessness, a person that's homeless could potentially affect a person's like mental health negatively, or a person's mental health also could affect their living situation, such as being homeless, becoming homeless, right? So I ended up doing that. That way it could give the viewer a perspective of what should be done in a sense of helping homeless people, homeless individuals, I mean. And then also too, right here, Cynthia also stated basically the same thing that you had said, Mrs. B, but just a little bit nicer. Um, Not the same thing, or not nicer, but basically the same thing that you had said, Mrs. B. So that made me want to go in there and tweak it a little bit. If that doesn't seem like I tweaked it a little bit, it is what it is. I think it kept the same concept. But anyways, too, right here I wanted to bring up like basically we're still like on the looking back portion. So after doing project 1 and implementing multimodal text and elements and images, I had revised a midterm exam for my philosophy class, and basically we were talking about gender norms that are put upon each sex. So right here, as you can see, like a gender norm for boys would be rough, playing, and scruffy, right? And for girls, it would be soft, cuddly, and not doing what the boys do, right? So I put that picture in a sense that way it could get my message across of like what gender norms are, just in case people were like kind of blind to it or never really been exposed to it. Also, to I know how. Okay, so another one was here, like another gender norm that we had talked about was that boys or men just think about working. I don't know, pounding a hammer all day, thinking about work, basically, right? So that's what us men, our gender norms are. And then for women is just to be pretty and whatnot. And then another multimodal element that I had put in here is breaking the gender norm. And right here I showed ways in which a person could break the gender norms is a dad being a stay-at-home dad and a mom being a mom that basically works, right? So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about too. And then now for the looking forward, like in the future with my writing, the way that I want to see myself as a writer is that I will incorporate more like audio elements into my essays, whether it be pictures, titles, subtitles, fonts, nice fonts that can capture the reader's attention and make them want to engage in reading more of what I have to present to them. Also, I want to look back at Project One and its feedback, right? So, Project One and its feedback, right? So we're still looking forward, right? We're still looking forward, but I just want to make a note of we're just going to go back to Project One and its feedback. Basically, right here, you had said, Mrs. B, that I forgot to include an introductory slash thesis statement. So in my future writing, a introductory and thesis is basically writing 101. Like you need to have an introductory slash thesis statement. That way you could explain what you're about to talk about and potentially grasp the reader's attention, right? So I ended up doing that in my revision for Project One, but that's not the point here. So the point is that in my future writing endeavors, I want to basically not, I want to catch these mistakes first, right? So catch these mistakes first instead of instead of turning in my final project or essay and thinking that it's good enough. So in the future, I want to practice revising my own stuff, my own projects, my own essays. Now I did revise it, and I didn't. Not that I did revise it, but I did proofread it, like for I guess not I guess, but for grammar and punctuation. But I didn't take a step back and look like, oh, I forgot an introductory and thesis statement. So that was one of the downfalls. So in my future writing endeavors, right, I basically want to catch these mistakes and fix them before submitting anything else.